Hi, this is James with IELTS United, and we are continuing to work through IELTS Test Book 9. This is Test 3, and we're on the Listening Section 2. If you want to listen to the previous video, Listening Section 1, click here. As always, this is a new test for me. I haven't done this exam before, so we will be doing the test together. I will give you some tips and advice and explain how I'm thinking about the listening exam, and hopefully you will learn some things that will help you to improve your band score in IELTS listening. So, let's start.
Section 2. You will hear a talk on local radio about a children's theme park. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 13.
Okay, so we have some time to look at questions 11 to 13. So choose the correct letter. It's a multiple choice question, A, B, or C, so we need to only choose one. So the first thing to notice is that since this is section 2, this will just be one person speaking. Remember that IELTS listening begins with two people speaking about a general topic, then one person speaking about a general topic, and then two people speaking about an academic or training topic, and then one person speaking about an academic training topic for sections 1, 2, 3, and 4, respectively. So since this is section 2, this is just going to be one person speaking about a general topic. And in this case, it's a theme park. So, question 11. Simon's idea for a theme park came from, so when we're thinking about theme parks, try to think of related words like attractions or synonyms like amusement park. It came from his childhood hobby, so thinking about his youth when he was young, and synonyms like interests. His interest in landscape design, so anytime we hear him talking about being interested in creating or designing things or architecture of any kind, we should be starting to think it might be related to this, or C, his visit to another park. So if he starts to talk about an experience at another amusement park, then it's going to be C. 12. When they started, the family decided to open the park only when the weather was expected to be good, so think of words related to weather, like rain, sunshine, storms, thunder, wind, all different kinds of weather that will help us, and expected to be good, so think about why. When the children weren't at school, so think about words related to being a parent, like responsibilities, as well as summer holidays and words related to school. And C, there were fewer farming commitments. So again, commitments is a synonym with responsibilities, and any time he talks about farming, whether it's animals or crops, that could give us a clue that it might be C. Finally, question 13. Since opening, the park has had 50,000 visitors, 1 million visitors, and 1.5 million visitors. So as I said in the previous section, if we're given a clear choice of numbers like this, we should be careful because it's likely that we'll be given the number in different forms, or that we'll be given a number that's not related to the answer to try and confuse us. So we have to listen carefully. It could be more than one. Okay, let's start.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 13.
For the second in our series about locally run businesses, we meet Simon Winridge, co-founder of the hugely successful Winridge Forest Railway Park. Welcome, Simon. Now, perhaps you can begin by telling us a little bit about how it all started.
Well, during the 1970s, my wife Liz and I had just acquired 80 acres of sheep farming land, and we decided to settle down and have children. Pretty soon we had a daughter, Sarah, and a son, Duncan. The place was wonderful for the kids. They particularly loved trains and gradually built up an enormous network of miniature railway track. I began to develop larger scale models of locomotives, but we didn't think anything more of it until I went on a trip to a theme park near Birmingham and decided we could do a much better job. So we set up a small one ourselves, based on the miniature railway, and we opened to the public for just a month that year, 1984, in July, our driest month, because our children said they didn't want our guests to have a miserable wet visit. I dealt with park business and Liz carried on with the farm work. It soon became clear that we were onto a winner. We began to extend the railway track and lay it among more interesting landscape by planting trees. which in turn attracted more wildlife, and by making cuttings through the rock. Nowadays, we're open all year round, and we're pleased to say that Wimridge is one of the most popular visitor attractions in the area, with 50,000 visitors a year. 1.5 million people have been through our doors since we opened.
We heard that the children wanted to make sure that the guests weren't rained on, so that was the weather. And down here it was a bit tricky because they've had 50,000 visitors this year, but 150,000 since opening, and that was the question.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 14 to 20.
So now we have some time to look at the next section. What is currently the main area of work for each of the following people? Okay, so we're thinking about the jobs for these people. Choose 5 answers from the box. Be careful, this needs 5, not just 1 or 2, so choose 5 from the box and write the correct letter A to H next to the questions 14 to 18. Oh, I see. So these are the areas of work: advertising, animal care, so advertising, so publicity, marketing, start to think of synonyms and related words, animal care, so anything to do with animals, so you might think of the names of different animals. What would be on a farm? Things like horses, pigs, sheep, ducks. Building, so words that are synonyms or related to building, like construction, maintenance. D, educational links, so education, teaching, schools, community, words related to education. Engine maintenance, so engines presumably on vehicles, trains. Maintenance, a synonym for maintenance would be upkeep, repair. Okay, F is food and drink, so catering, refreshments. We need to listen out for people having experiences of specific foods and drinks. G, sales, so selling and words related to finance and money. And H, staffing, so that's related to human resources, staff, personnel, employees. These are words to listen for. So we have the people down here: Simon, the speaker, Liz, Sarah, Duncan, and Judith. So this is his family, and these are their jobs. So we have to choose which job belongs to which person as we listen. And we also have to look at questions 19 and 20. So complete the table below. Write one word and or numbers for each answer. Okay, so just one word that's important to remember and number, and we have a table here. So let's see. It has features, size, the biggest challenge, and the target age group. And remember, a challenge might be like a difficulty they experienced or a problem. So think of synonyms and related words to challenge. Railway. Okay, so this is a feature of the park. So we're thinking about things that are in Simon's amusement park. The size of it is in kilometres, 1.2. Making tunnels was the challenge, and the target age group is not given. There's nothing necessary there. Go-kart arena, another feature of the park. So a place where people can drive small cars around for fun in the park. And the size of that is going to be given in meters squared. So we need to listen out for that. Be careful for any false answers that are not the correct answer that could be given, numbers that are not related. The biggest challenge was removing mounds on the track, so taking away earth that shouldn't have been on the track. And target age group, something year olds, so it's going to be a number. Again, be careful in case there's any other numbers given, or if we're told it's not for a certain age. Okay, let's begin.
Now listen and answer questions 14 to 20.
All these visitors mean we have had to expand our operation, and it's now a truly family concern. I'm near to retirement age, so I only concern myself with looking after the mechanical side of things, keeping the trains going. Liz now devotes all her energies to recruiting and supporting the large squadron of workers, which keep the place running smoothly. We're really pleased that, after some years away teaching, Sarah has now returned to the park and makes sure the visitors are kept fed and watered, which keeps her pretty busy, as you can imagine. Our son Duncan has been a stalwart of the park for the last 10 years, taking over from me in the area of construction. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. And his new wife, Judith, has also joined the team in charge of retail. That's becoming a tremendous growth area for us. A lot of people want to buy souvenirs.
So have you finished your development of the site for the moment?
Not at all. We're constantly looking for ways to offer more to our visitors. The railway remains the central feature, and there's now 1.2 kilometres of the line laid, but we'd like to lay more. Because of the geology of the area, our greatest problem is digging tunnels, but we're gradually overcoming that. We're also very pleased with a new installation of the go-kart arena, which is 120 square metres in area. Again, the problem is the geology. We had to level the mounds on the track for safety reasons. We wanted to enable 5 to 12-year-olds to use the go-karts. And the main attraction here is the Formula One kart. We've known fights to break out over who gets it. And then, finally, to our most recent development, which is the landscape swimming pool.
That is the end of section 2.
Great, that's the end of section 2. So this was quite challenging because they sometimes didn't mention directly the area of work. There were a lot of synonyms used, and some of these were quite similar. For example, advertising and sales for Judith's job. And so that was quite challenging to do. Plus, the speaker was quite quick in relation to checking the number of items we had to look at. We also had 19 and 20, and as predicted, we had some numbers here as well. And this was a bit tricky because it was not just one number, it was 5 to 12-year-olds, so you had to be prepared for multiple numbers. Okay, let's check our answers. So, answers for Test 3, Section 2. The first one was, Simon's idea came from his visit to another park. C, correct. When they started, the family decided to open the park only when the weather was expected to be good. A, correct. 13, since opening the park has had 1.5 million, so that's C, and that is correct here. Okay, let's move on to the next part, questions 14 to 18. The people here were Simon, the speaker, who was responsible for engine maintenance, and I put E, so yes, we have that. Liz, 15, was responsible for H, that was staffing, and yes, she was responsible for staffing. Sarah, 16, was responsible for food and drink, and it looks like F was correct. Duncan was responsible for C, which was building, and 17, he was responsible for C. And Judith was responsible for the things that they sold at the park, and that was sales, so that was G. And yes, we have G here. And in the table, we had to say about the go-kart arena, the size of it was 120 metres, so yes, 120 metres, and the ages that were targeted, that were supposed to use that, were 5 to 12-year-olds, that's 20, and we had that correct. So if you made many mistakes there, feel free to go back and listen again. If you want to, you can use the subtitles if you're using YouTube on a PC. So this has been IELTS Test Book 9, Test 3, Listening, Section 2. If you want to listen to the previous section, Section 1, click here. If you want to listen to the next section, Section 3, click here. Don't forget that you can join us on Facebook, Instagram and Telegram. Just search for IELTS United, and you can connect with our teachers and students who will help you and offer you resources for your IELTS exam. Thank you for listening, and speak to you soon.